What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Thanks for joining tonight. Thank you. It's Coach Khayr, and this is Coach K Radio. Tonight is the journey of the spiritual warrior with guest Kilindi Iyi. This one is going to be part 4 in the series. We're just on the 4th episode. I don't know if I should keep calling it part 4 or should I just start calling them episodes now. Yeah, this one is going to be quite interesting. But of course, I can't do this one by myself. I got one of my partners in rhyme, partners in mind, riding shotgun with me. Can you please put your hands together for my man Keith's son, a.k.a. Firewall Tom?
Hey, Pete. Hey, what's going on, Coach? What's going on, Coach? We got a good one tonight?
Oh man, like this whole series, I really feel like I got the next 3 shows set out. I didn't tell Brother Kilindi what the next 2 topic was because he'll rest around and like pull them all into one, which is cool. And it might slip out. It might slip out tonight in the conversation, but in what we've been talking about in the first 2 episodes, dealing with the plant medicine, the magic mushroom, and psilocybin and DMT specifically, I really feel that the whole thing has really been on, like he says, pushing the envelope on our spiritual journeys. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's time to turn it up a notch. You know, and there ain't but one place left to go. We done been everywhere. We done reassociated with Kemet in Egypt. We done took it to all the esoteric chambers and arcane and occult chambers we could take it to. We done tried the nationality and paperwork. We done been all these other places. There ain't but one place left to go, but into the hyperdimensional realms to turn up like Dr. Strange.
Right. I was watching one of Baba Kilindi's videos, and he was like, "We done found all the gods, but couldn't find." Like Bobby Hemmett said, "We older than the gods we found," and now we done not even looking at it even from that correct perspective. We keep on, you know, on this particular part of the journey is like we just spinning our wheels. And so one of the things that I, in my research and watching some of his countless lectures that he has on YouTube, was about the story of Krishna and Arjuna. Of course, I'm mispronouncing it. Arjuna. Yeah. Arjuna and Krishna, and where he was about to go, he was like, man, I don't really have time to go all the way into that. But in just that piece, it just really connected to the episode we had last week about 2 weeks ago about being a part of a spiritual house. It's very important to be a part of a spiritual house because when death comes or those sinister energies come, you can look them in the face and say, not me. But that takes a warrior-type attitude, a warrior-type mentality. And I think at some level, all of us on this particular path or journey are bringing out our aspects of our own personal spiritual warriors. So I know that you have been, you know, on your spiritual, like, which one do you use more? Do you use your regular you, or do you think that you need to pull out more of your spiritual warrior on this path when you're going more into the hyperdimensional realm?
You got to pull out. You got to go tiger style, to use an old kung fu movie reference. You got to pull out the warrior. It's imperative. You need that to go into the dark and to turn up. You know what I'm saying? And to understand that hero's quest, that internal hero's quest, the hero with 1,000 faces, as they say. Yeah. Salute.
Well.
Wow. Hey, we need a hot conversation tonight because it's cold up here, man. It's Arctic temperatures, so I need a hot conversation tonight to heat me up. Let's go.
I was looking at the news earlier, and they were talking about, they used the word vortex. It was like it's some kind of cold front. Like Norman said, they say it's a cold front. I'm in my 40s. I never saw the news use the word vortex on CNN to describe the weather. And I was like, why are y'all using the word vortex? But maybe Baba can shine some light on that topic tonight. The Magic Mushroom and the Journey of the Spiritual Warrior, episode number 4. The call-in number is 917-889-3803. And never before have I seen such mass movement toward beginning the spiritual path. Church attendance is down, and the search for enlightenment is up. But how do you get started? And what is to be expected? Well, tonight, international scholar and master teacher Kilindi Iyi of the Tamarian Institute joins Coach Khayr and Firewater to help us decipher the journey of the spiritual warrior by breaking down the story of Krishna and Arjuna. As usual, this will be an envelope-pushing conversation, and there's going to be tons of extras. Pen and paper is a must. Please get on your feet, raise your hands, stomp your feet. For Baba Kilindi Iyi. Baba, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How you feeling?
I'm well. In the midst of the Arctic, the Arctic vortex, as they say.
Right. Right.
We thought
reminds me of the start of the Younger Dryas.
It gets worse. It gets much worse.
Oh yeah, during the Younger Dryas, the temperatures were about 15 degrees lower. So if we were in the midst of the Younger Dryas now, 11 degrees below zero, it would be almost 30 degrees below zero. And that's due to climate change through a, global cataclysm, and the changing of the North Atlantic current, the Gulf of Mexico, the temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, which can plunge the planet into a mini ice age. And we've had, I think the last mini ice age ended in the 19th century because it went from the 1300s to the 19th century. So we're actually living in the most hospitable climate that we have for the last probably 12,800 years when the Younger Dryas started. So, and climate is changing, and it's not all man-made by carbon, by carbon fossil fuels being put into the atmosphere. It's also because of just the global climate changing. It goes through its cycles. It goes through ice ages and temperate climates and things like that. At the last glacial maximum, which was 21,000 years ago, the sea levels were 400 feet lower than they are now. And 12,800 years ago, when the Younger Dryas came in, sea levels, once that mini ice age was over at 11,600 years ago, 9,000 BCE, before the Common Era, that's when the sea levels rose and actually, deluged many of the older super civilizations that were on Earth, of which only now we have megaliths, and only in the last since 2007 and then 2017 that we're finding out that these changes in temperatures are not the Great Flood, which sunk what we call today Atlantis. Of course, it wasn't actually named Atlantis, but when the great civilization sunk in the sea, and many of the other coastal regions were flooded out. So much of the things that we want to understand about the ancient world is underwater, and we have to deal with marine archaeology and marine biology and all those different types of things, and to start to bring these things up. And of course, deal with cave culture. Have to deal with the cave cultures worldwide, because when these cataclysms happen, many people who were in high elevation could hide in caves. It's a lot of things in the Grand Canyon that we have to look at as far as North America. North America was heavily affected by this because this was the epicenter of the the impact of those comets or asteroids or meteors, whatever they were. They don't know exactly what they were because comets and meteors are different. The asteroids are, they're basically heavy metal, and the comets are more ice, but they have deposits of metal inside of them. And when they hit the atmosphere, they break apart. And when these things come in at between 70,000 and 100,000 miles per hour, and they hit, they do a lot of devastation. They do a lot of devastation. And it hit the North American ice cap, which was the Laurentide ice cap, which was the one that covered Michigan and Ohio and New York State and Wyoming and places like this. And when they hit in Michigan, they knocked ice all the way to North and South Carolina, and they created what are called the Carolina Bays, which are these oblong depressions in the earth that are now filled with water that go in a particular direction. At Saginaw Bay, Lake Erie, Shore Lake Erie is the lowest elevation in Michigan because that's where one of the comets struck, and it just devastated the land. With inland tsunamis with waves of 1,000 feet tall. That's almost taller than the Sears Tower. So this water would come in with not just water, but debris. It would bring whole forests and boulders and icebergs and everything coming through, dragging, scouring the land, just like in Washington State. The scab lands of Washington State show the water degradation of the land and how it was brought through. And that wasn't just from Lake Missoula, which was in Montana, but the ice melting, and it was a horrifying to be at that time. So we're lucky to be in a temperate climate, even though it's 11 below zero. I have my meteor watch from the Toward Meteor Stream. The Toward Meteor Stream are shards of a larger comet that was about 100 kilometers in length that broke apart, and the first one that we have understanding of was 65 million years ago, the one that destroyed the dinosaurs and made it possible for mammals to proliferate on the Earth because, the dinosaurs have been around for a couple of 100 million years, and they weren't going anywhere. But when this about approximately 10-mile wide comet or asteroid hit the Earth, and we have the crater in the Yucatan. When it hit the Earth, it killed everything in the first 6 seconds bigger than a chicken. And the surviving mammal, it was good because it was smaller. It was a shrew, and it was smaller than chicken. So the devastation of that is now well known and documented. And the most horrific comet or asteroidal impact was 12,600 years ago in Michigan, which not only deluged the whole top half of the country, but it also destroyed the lower half of the country all the way down through Mexico into South America. So just be grateful that we're living in a very temperate and mild climate, which it is the best temperature that it has been for the last 9,600 years. So that's just starting things off. We have to do a Younger Dryas episode so that we can go through the particulars of this and the effects of destroying, much of the high culture in the Indonesian archipelago and in the Philippines. all the way up into the time of 11,600 years ago when Egypt, or Kemet, was deluged by rainfall. And the monuments, I know that people say that the pyramid complex is only goes back to 2,500 BC, but that's not the truth. And it's says dedicated to Khufu, but that's not the case. It was put together. In other words, they were doing maintenance on it 25,000 BC. And they date it to that because you can't date stone, but they date 25,000 BC through carbon, through people's bones and all those different types of things, and they misdate it through looking at things that were there 2,500 and 2,500 BC or BCE, which don't deal with the true age of the pyramids. And, of course, we know that the great Sphinx, Ra-Harmachis, which was, at least the head of it was recarved, to show a different face, and that the side of the Sphinx has weather destruction on it. In other words, it has rain wearing. In other words, it was worn away by thousands of years of rain. And the last time that the part of the Sahara that Egypt is in had that type of rainfall was 10,000 BC. And that happened because of the second impact of the Younger Dryas, the one that destroyed Atlantis, which threw up so much ice it was an overwater burst. It exploded in the atmosphere over water, and it threw up so much steam that it created then a heating up of the planet, got warm, and started to having torrential rains. So we know that the Sphinx, or Ra-Harmachis, goes back at least to 10,000 BC, and it's much older than 10,000 BC. Hawass, when he was the head of the Egyptian antiquities, said that there was no monuments that go back into 10,000 BC. So that, what the researchers were saying was incorrect. But then we find Göbekli Tepe, which is in Turkey, and Göbekli Tepe is definitely dated back to around 10,000 BC or 9,600 BCE, which is the time of the Younger Dryas. So we have monuments that go back past 10,000 years because they said that hunter-gatherers couldn't have done this at 9,600 BC because they didn't have the labor force, they didn't have the speciality, they didn't have the ability to, be able to pay specialists, architects, and all these different types of people. So what we're doing and dealing with now is new research, new information that hasn't been around. When people talk about the Americas and they talk about, the Asian people coming through the Bering Straits and things like that, and what stopped them from coming through the Bering Straits, what let them through, they have to understand that the North American continent, down through Mexico and South America, had some of the most diverse megafauna on Earth. Megafauna is a mammal, any mammal that's over 100 pounds. They had the dire wolf, which is, if you look at Game of Thrones, those big wolves that they have on the Game of Thrones, those are about the size of what the dire wolf was. They had giant horses, giant camels. They had the giant ground sloth. They had beavers that were almost the size of elephants. They had the saber-toothed tiger. They had the most vicious animal on the north that was on the North American continent, which was the short-faced bear. It was a bear that was whose legs were longer than the regular bears. It could run faster. It was twice the size of a Kodiak bear, and it was the most fierce animal on the doggone North American continent. You had mammoths, you had mastodons, you had the woolly rhinoceros, all of these different animals roaming that were killed out in one afternoon 9,600 years ago. So we have to go through that to just let people know that when they start talking about who populated the Americas and how far it goes back and who's who and if somebody else was here, how did they get there, and all those different type of things, we'll have to talk about that because this is all new research. It's less than 10 years old. So most archaeologists and geologists don't even know about a lot of this going on. And when we're talking about the world, we're talking about origins, we're talking about high cultures, super civilizations, the passing on of knowledge and information from the older times, which were prior to the Younger Dryas, into the newer times, which is after the Younger Dryas, and how these things were. The different remnant people who survived the cataclysmic impacts that happened 12,800 years ago and 9,600 years ago. Those who they talk about in the Ep-4 building text in Egypt, about the primeval mounds and the flood and all those different type of things, because even though the temple of Ep-4 is a Ptolemaic temple, in other words, it only was built around 300 BCE. It's built on older temples that are built on older temples that are built on older temples, and the records that they had that were on papyri and animal skins that were falling apart because of their antiquity, they took those and they built it into the newer temple on the walls, and that's why they call it the Ep-4 building text, because the stories that were in those papyri and animal skins was carved directly in stone into the wall so that they would be preserved and we would never forget, even though we've forgotten, because even though we go to, these places, we don't look at the right things. And we need those people who are experts in meta-nature translation that are ours to start going to these different places and translating directly from the walls instead of interpretation from other people's books. And we need those people who are studying meta-nature to now step up into the greater realms of meta-nature, where meta-nature becomes alivened, because the key to the next level of the deciphering of the meta-nature is through the hallucinogens, where at certain doses the meta-nature becomes animate. At higher doses, the meta-nature, the characters or carvings or papyri or papyrus comes alive into your environment. In other words, if you are studying a papyri under 15 grams of Psilocybe cubensis, the papyri, the characters in the papyri will come off the papyri and come into your room or into wherever you're studying, and you can have a face-to-face, mouth-to-ear relationship with those characters inside of the meta-nature. And at a higher dose, 20, 25, 30 grams of Psilocybe cubensis mushrooms, or any of the Psilocybe mushrooms, it could be azarensis, it could be any one of the different types, walleye or whatever, it will take you into the papyri, and you can explore the world of inside of the meta-nature and take it to the next level. That's what we need our people studying meta-nature to be able to do, but they have to have the courage to be able to take the dose. They have to train by increasing their dose over time, and then we can start doing what the ancients did prior to the Younger Dryas and then after the Younger Dryas to restart ancient Kemet, and that is the ingestion of the mushroom, being able to go into the world of the Neteru and be able to bring back technologies and architecture and weapons and styles of martial arts, warfare, being able to go in and bring back philosophy, being able to go into these realms and bring those stuff back like they did, because it's not about recreating what the ancient Kemetic or Egyptian people did. It is about going and doing the same things that they did so that we can take it to the next level of what we want to experience and deal with in relationship to what we're doing now, moving into artificial intelligence, moving into quantum realms, moving into the solar system and things like that, to be able to bring back this knowledge and information. We need people studying Mars under the influence of the mushrooms. We need people studying Sirius and Orion and the Pleiades and all these different things under the auspices of the mushrooms as true experiential sciences. It doesn't take away the other sciences. It doesn't take away anything from anything else. But it adds that dimension of experiences that can't be experienced in the three-dimensional five-sense reality of which we are embedded in until we take the dose to be able to escape that reality into a greater hyperdimensional, extra-dimensional. All of the different areas of the next level of what we're moving into. And, people, I talk about these things all over the world, and I move to share them with our people. But, next month is Black History Month. They want to hear, we were the greatest people in the world. We built the pyramids and, we did this and we did that. When the reality is, what is we doing now? And the folks who built the pyramids were taking these mushrooms. So to do what we need to do for now, while we have the ability and the chance to be able to do it, everybody can do it. It ain't got nothing, so you ain't got to be special. You ain't got to be goddess so-and-so and such, or God such and such and so-and-so. Most of the people call themselves gods and goddesses ain't nothing but farmers and merchants. If everybody is a god, then a god is not special. If everybody is a king, we came from kings and queens. Yeah, okay, well, you came from kings and queens. What about the farmers? What about the dung collectors? The people that went around and picked up the shit off the doggone sidewalk when folks put it in a pot. What about them? They existed too. And a lot of people are just, and that's an honorable vocation. People we look at the story about the people who look down on the dung collectors. Like you go around and collect dung. You ain't the shit you collected. I'm a prince of so and so and so and so. And the dung collectors stopped collecting dung for 2 weeks, and they made a whole new mystery about the dung collectors. They got gold, and they walked down the street carrying the cans of shit with gold armor on and stuff like that. People bowed to them as they came, because if they don't pick up that damn dung, it's going to be a shitty society. So what about all them people? Everybody was not a king and everybody was not a queen. We had farmers and merchants, and we had warriors, and we had all these different classes. And Arjuna and his brothers, the rest of the Pandavas, Yudhishthira being Arjuna and the twins, Nakula and his twin, I can't think of his name right in a second, but Sahadev and Nakula. Those were the 5 Pandavas, who were the sons of Pandu, who was the king. But Pandu, hunting, killed a deer who really wasn't a deer. And he said, he was a highly spiritual being in the guise of a deer. And he was copulating. And he cursed Pandu by saying, Pandu, you shot me while I was in the midst of getting busy. I was, trying to get me some, and Pandu said, I'm a hunter. He said, yeah, you're a hunter, but you was disrespectful because you shot me in the middle of copulating. It's been different if I was running through the forest or something like that and you shot me, but, you shot me while I was trying to get some. So what I'm going to do is curse you, and at the time that you copulate with one of your wives, because he had 2 wives, he said, when you copulate with your wife, at that moment you're going to die. then you're never going to have no children. So Pandu, who was king, got dejected. He went out into the forest, and his 2 wives followed him out there. And, he just kind of got, depressed and all that kind of stuff, made love to his wife and died. Then his wife then got a mantra to be able to have children, and they had children, and she had children from who were the 5 Pandavas, 3 of the Pandavas, and then the second wife had the twins at the end by using a powerful mantra that they spoke to have children who were demigods, who were part divine and part human. Pandu's brother became the king, although he was blind. The Pandavas came to live with their cousins who were the Kauravas. There were 100 of them. They were always fighting and arguing, and they didn't like each other. So the king brought in a trainer for them, Drona, who knew all of the different arts of the martial arts. He knew everything. He knew the mantras. He knew how to defend from curses. He knew to do all these different things. So he taught the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And Arjuna turned out to be the greatest of the warriors. He was unmatched. Although his older brother, whom his mother was pregnant with, who they put in a butcher basket and sent out on the river, it's the same story as Moses. And a chariot driver picked up the baby out of the water and raised him. But he still had the divine power of the sun because he was birthed from the sun. So he was a great warrior also, and he could perform almost everything that Arjuna could. But eventually they had when they all grew up, eventually they had a war on the field of Kurukshetra. They were Kshatriya. In other words, they were of the warrior class. They weren't of the priest class. They weren't of the, what they called the untouchables and things like that. They were of the warrior class. So they had a great battle between the Pandavas and the Kauravas and the heroes of the earth. And they asked the Kauravas, Krishna, who was the divine personality of godhood, asked the Krishnas and the Pandavas, Krishna said, you can have 10,000 of the greatest warriors on earth on your side, or you can have me, but I won't fight. I'll only drive a chariot. The Kauravas picked the 10,000 warriors, and the Pandavas picked Krishna. Krishna drove the chariot of Arjuna. And under the standard of Hanuman, who was the monkey king from an earlier age of the Ramayana, this was of the Mahabharata. And inside of the Mahabharata, when they were on the field of battle, Arjuna became dejected. He didn't want to fight because his teacher, Drona, was on the other side. His grandfather, Bhishma, was on the other side. All of his cousins were on the other side. People he knew. People, some he may not have liked, but he didn't want to kill him, destroy him. So he said, what should I do, Krishna? He got down out of the chariot, sat down on the ground, threw his trans-dimensional bow, the Govinda bow, with the inexhaustible quiver of arrows that were true trans-dimensional weapons, because they brought all the different types of weapons from the multiverse and the infraparticle realms. And what he did was dropped his bow, dropped his arrows, and said, I can't do this. I can't fight. And Krishna said, why are you worried about this? And then inside of the Mahabharata, there's a section that is revealed called the Bhagavad Gita, which is a section inside of the Mahabharata where Krishna lays down the laws of the soul and the laws of what human beings are and how they come into existence. It's it's a phenomenal work. It is the longest epic poem on earth. the Mahabharata. And what happened was Krishna revealed to Arjuna, because Arjuna was worried about killing somebody, and Krishna told him that if you have a soul, you are immortal. You cannot be killed. There's no way that a soul can be killed. What you see is Maya, illusion, the illusion of the body. Now, there's some folks over there on that side who have no souls, who are just part of the matrix. He said what you are and what all of the souled people claim to give an illusion of being human beings and having a physical body. He said what you are is so small, but so powerful, so significant. It's so small, it's so large. He said, no fire can burn you. And we find now from quantum mechanics talking about below the Planck length in the infraparticle realms where the supercomputers, the super servers generate the macro universe. In other words, when a particle, it's not even a particle can't be called a particle because particles are up higher than below the Planck length. That wave that is below the Planck length, that is smaller than atoms, smaller than electrons, smaller than protons, smaller than muons and gluons and all these different subatomic particles, they're smaller than that. They, on a part of that, sits the reality of what we exist looking out into the universe, all the planets and all the different universes and solar systems and galaxies, all are generated from those very, very small particles. So he said, what you are, no fire can burn you because you're smaller than the particles that create fire through fiction. In other words, atoms bouncing together create heat. But you're smaller than that. So there's no heat where we're talking about. He said no rain or no water can drown you because the water molecules are way up there. They're too big to be able to drown you because you're way down here below the Planck length. He said no air can make you dry. No earth can cover you because what you are is preeminent in the reality of all that exists. And he went to tell him about this. He said, you can't kill them people. He said, number one, I've already killed all those people. So Arjuna said, I don't understand. Tell me. And then he pulled out the soma, which is the transdimensional drink talked about in the Vedas. The Vedas are one of the seminal works of the Indian continent, and those sages and knowledgeable people who put those who re-engineered this work over time talks about soma, the divine drink. It's a hallucinogenic drink that is composed over time, 107 different compounds, of which 7 are mushrooms. The oldest are the mushroom compounds of soma. The others are plants over time, but the oldest soma is a mushroom drink. And so he gave Krishna the oldest mushroom drink, which was a mushroom brew, and he revealed to him his greater self, the supreme personality of Godhood. He showed him what he looked like in his reality, in one of his realities, where he had thousands of faces and millions of arms, and he had fierce faces, beautiful faces. He had on divine jewelry where garlands of flowers were larger than planets and weapons that could be used. He had swords and maces and all the different transdimensional weapons throughout the universe. And Krishna said, I revealed to you myself. And Arjuna looked at it for a while, and then he said, no, I can't deal with this. It's too much. It's kind of like in Indiana Jones in the Temple of the Crystal Skull, or whatever it's called. Whereas when they got to the end and they put the crystal skull in the alien's head, and it became one from the 9. The lady who was the evil lady in the story said, I want to know everything. I want to know it all. Show me. I'm ready. Reveal it to me. And then the alien turned to her and kind of look on his face was like, oh, you want to know everything? You want to see it all? Okay, you asked for it. Let me show it to you. And so after about 9 or 10 seconds, she was like, oh, no, it's too much. Take it away. Please, stop it. I can't stand it, because that's what happens when you say you want to see the real thing and you want to see it all, And I know because I've done that a couple of times. I say, okay, hold it. I'll take some of this a little bit later. So what was revealed from Krishna to Arjuna was the truth of our reality as much as he could stand at that particular time. So Arjuna, understood. He got back in the chariot. They fought. The Pandavas won. And, they all went to heaven together happy. So this is what we're talking about. This is what we're doing, and just letting the people know some of the things that are what they think of as stories, which are universal truths that we lead the people to be able to understand more and more of the realities in which we exist. So the spiritual warrior is not just a one-dimensional, I'm a spiritual warrior, which means that, I fight in the spirit. But if somebody, offends me or jumps on my mama or whatever, I'm not a physical warrior. You can't separate the spiritual warrior from the physical warrior, from the mental warrior, from the transdimensional warrior. You can't separate those things. The warrior is the warrior. So that's why, when you say what you are, you need to understand the ramifications of that. Because many people can be fighters, many people can be soldiers, but there are few that are warriors in the traditional and ancient sense, because that is part of our continuous sojourn, a continuous legacy of what we are at the core of our soul. And that goes into, of course, what we talked about last week, I believe, the house. The house has warriors inside of the house, and they're charged with protecting and defending the house, be it from whoever. How are you going to have a guy who goes to the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and he's a crack soldier, and he fights and kills, Vietnamese, he kills Koreans, he kills Germans, he kills whoever the United States tells him to fight. But then when he gets back here, he's scared to do anything, because the soldiers, you have some warriors who are in the soldiery game, because many times these people their courage is generated by those who are around them. In other words, you can be brave if you have billions of dollars of equipment, if you have unlimited resources, if you have friends who are going to back you up, thick or thin, not leave you, and things like that. So you have courage because, hey, the guys are going to help me, the guys are going to protect me. Yes, maybe I will get killed, but, I have all this backup. I have all these people with me. The warrior is the one who can stand alone. I talked to a guy who was a soldier. He said, oh, yeah, I've been all over the world. I've been to Germany, and I was stationed in Japan, and I was so and so and such and such and all that kind of stuff, and all that's well and good and fine. But you never went to Germany. You never went to Japan. You only rode with the United States because you always had a barracks there. You always had a place to sleep and stay there. You didn't go to Japan on your own nickel and wander around in doggone, Tokyo by yourself. You had the uniform on because people had to respect that because of the United States, all these different type of things. So the warrior is the one who could stand alone when there's nobody else to be there. The warrior is the one who can face the darkness. The warrior is the one who can be able to, no matter what the odds, step forward when they have to. A sovereign is one who there's no greater authority. If you offend the sovereign spirit will rise up. And although you may kill the physical body of the sovereign spirit, you cannot kill the sovereign spirit. So, those are some of the things that we're talking about this evening. That's the short introduction.
Short end. The reason I even had came up with this subject is because a lot of people, it's like, what is it? What in Tantra they talked about, and they called it what phase is this? Son, like this Great Awakening. I can't think of the
Satya Yug or something like that. The Golden Age.
What was the question?
Yeah, like this. Sunyata used to use this word talking about. No, like in Tantra, when Tantra would reawaken. You know what I'm saying? And there's just a reawakening in all these different areas. Like the bull crap is falling to the side. You see press and news about churches having to shut down because people just aren't going to church no more. They don't believe in it no more. Like the fog is wearing off. Like they waking up from the sleepy juice, and they like coming and saying, "Where's the spirituality at?" They even have questions when they're saying, "Are you more spiritual? What is your religion?" And then when you get down to the bottom, it says more spiritual than religious. But in the 1950s, they would not dare to even give you more than 3 choices. Now you got 10, 20 choices on an application of saying, where are you or where's your spirituality? And especially with the birth of these millennials, these children born like wanting to know, like it's not enough for them to be like, what you want me to believe? Like I'm done with the belief era of Pisces. Now I'm in Aquarian where I must know. Give me the information. Then it's moving back to Capricorn after the Aquarian age, but that's going to be a couple more thousand years. But they want to know what the facts are. And a friend of mine, he is up in Ohio now, and he was like, man, there's no book on how you get started on the conscious path. And I was like, well, you got to write that book for what you need to know. And he was like, man, it's so confusing out here because it's so many, what you call them, farmers and merchants. They're really not on the path. They're just trying to sell you something, And so you're being over here at my stand, Come over here and buy my wares. And it looks like it's gold, but it's actually only pyrite. Like people buying pyrite thinking it's gold. And I wanted to do this show because one of the things that I am 1,000% in agreement with you is forget the experimentation or all the rhetoric. Like, when do we do the actual work? That's when we stop talking about you took 2 grams and you was microdosing and you went to the party and you took a hallucinogen trip. No, you didn't. You still like walking by the beach. You haven't even put your feet in the water yet. And the only way you're going to get that is to actually step onto the path, and I don't know whether you put in a video or I heard it somewhere. It was like these people saying they are practicing these ancient traditional rites of passage or spirituality, but they don't have any of the sacred plants in it or the sacred medicines in it. Like, how could that be? But so I wanted to do this show to say, look, man, here's somebody who's done it. You know, not just, you 20, 30, 40 grams and still going back. You still setting goals and say, hey, yeah, I've been doing this since 1974, but guess what? I still need to take a 50-gram dosage, and I ain't looking forward to it, but I still got to keep pushing the envelope. So the reason that particular story to me was so powerful about Arjuna and Krishna was a lot of people have read the Bhagavad Gita or heard of it, but you mean to tell me he broke him off with 15 grams, 21 grams, and was like, man, open up your transdimensional eye and see what's really going on, that you really got all these hang-ups in your life. And we're really stagnated from being spiritual warriors. Like, we got spiritual warrior in us, but we're not taking the steps to bring that out. Like, we asking the questions and things like that. So that was why I wanted you to come on tonight and get into those particular steps. I really feel that we've been talking about that since like the first episode, where you was like, look, man, inch your way up. There's no competition, but we got to get there. And then tonight, as you said, we need people studying the planet Mars. We need people studying the Metu Neta. We need people studying XYZ. That's a part of the responsibilities of the spiritual warrior, and that it's okay to be the spiritual warrior, because now they use shame to try to keep us from opening up sexually, opening up mentally, opening up spiritually, opening up emotionally, from us, like, seeing who we are in our own transdimensional form. So could you build on that a little bit, Baba, about that particular, some of those basic requirements of, and some of the steps that you see that we need to take on this journey of developing the spiritual warriors? Like you said, from show number 1, we need more Dr. Strangers. So people was like, oh, he just had a cloak. Yeah, but Dr. Strange, he was about to smoke. He wouldn't run from you. He wasn't scared of nobody. He'll fight you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was all martial. So can you, like, elaborate on that a little bit as far as those things that we need to start pulling out? And like you gave us a part of the history of how the magic mushroom and the DMT has played a part in that, in opening up who we are and removing that fear aspect.
Well, as far as Dr. Strange and his cloak, the cloak was one of the relics of their particular system, a guild, just like they had the traps and different things that were in the place where Dr. Strange was in control of in New York, his house. We have the transdimensional weapons. The weapons are here on Earth in this time and are ready to be used at the proper time. People hold these relics and weapons all over the world, and some of them I've seen, some of them I have. Now, you don't have to believe me or take my word for it or whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't stop the reality of it. Many things I can. Those are all locked up in Beni Hassan in Egypt and the other 12 temples that they won't let you in. They just show you the, even though they show you assaulting castles and they show you the grappling aspect, kicking and punching and all that kind of stuff, some weapons, all that, they won't let you into the temples where the slick stuff is, because only those people who are studying those things can get in. Studying how to turn them on. You got a lightsaber. They don't know how to charge them up and put the battery in. So we can get these fools this, but the thing is that all of that technology is accessible, through the entheogenic realms at the proper doses, with the discipline to push on to get to those places. Arjuna went to the planet of war, the planet of weapons, where the weapons are, those weapons are kept. And those that are the custodians of those weapons have to look into your spirit and into your soul, because they're not going to give you what is not already yours. They're not going to give you what is not part of your family line. In other words, you can't get something that belongs to somebody else. You may want it, you know, no different than karate and judo and jiu-jitsu and ninjutsu and all those different type of things. You have people who are black people who should be busting Nigeria down trying to get the arts and weapons there, but they want to be Japanese and Chinese and Korean and things like that. And the Japanese, Korean, Chinese martial arts are good and wonderful for them. I said this 48 years ago. I said, why are you trying? You walk around looking like a samurai. Yeah, they had the one black samurai and all that kind of stuff, but he didn't invent it. They went into novel states of consciousness and gleaned those things from their ancestry, because all of those arts and sciences and all that stuff is available in the hyperdimensional realms. They have classes there. They have classes of the people who are no longer here, the ancestors of karate and judo and Buddhism and yoga and all that kind of stuff, sitting up in these mandalas and sitting up on mountains that teach these things. But our folks don't, number one, believe. They don't have the discipline. They don't have enough faith to take the step to be able to be part of something greater. Higher level martial arts are conveyed to the practitioner through the entheogenic realm, because that's where they have access to those realms where these things were created. When they say that the beginning person of the style had a dream, and this is where it came to him. He didn't have no doggone dream. He ate some mushrooms or some herb or something like that was secret. Now, I'm not saying that black people can't into Japanese or Korean or whatever martial arts, because they can. But what I'm saying is that those things are encoded to certain family spirits. And when those family spirits are now ready to convey the high levels of those things, they're not going to do it, because that's why everybody is stuck where they're stuck. You know, you ain't seen nobody doing no Darth Vader stuff, you know, where you sitting at the table and he closes his fist and that closes your esophagus and you start choking. You ain't seen nobody doing that kind of stuff. You know. What you're going to see is the same old basic thing that people have been doing for years. You know, I know why my skills accelerated through understanding this. You know, you say what you want. It's documented. You know, I've taken guns and knives. And I'm not just saying this to brag, you know, and you can go to the records of the Detroit Police Department. When the police jumped on me, and I took the guns and flashlights and all that kind of stuff, and they went to the hospital and dismantled the group, and the one that said that he would hit me with a flashlight because I was too smart, I told him, swing the flashlight. That's the last flashlight you will swing as a Detroit police officer. He swung the flashlight. He's still off on the walker with his special bed, you know, getting money from the Detroit Police Department. I say hi to him every once in a while. Officer Fenter, Sergeant Fenter. I don't know if he's retired now. He probably is retired, but he was retired that day. He swung the flashlight, and I told him not to. You know, and yes, they tried to shoot me, and yes, they tried to shoot me, you know, and all of that, but none of that worked.
Hyperdimensional training, huh?
Yeah, and when I go places, I go myself. I don't go with no big groups. You know, I'm up in the mountains of Hungary, and they say, "Come on, let's go to this cave." You know, we got some things we want to share with you because we see that you know you got the old knowledge and information. I say, sure. You know, I don't know these folks from Adam. That's vampire country. That's up there with the Draculs and all that kind of stuff where folks are turning into werewolves. And I know that you know, folks will say, well, ain't no such thing as a werewolf. Ain't no such thing as a vampire. Yeah, you say that sitting in St. Louis, Missouri in the Marriott. But get out there in the dark in the mountains of Hungary on the doggone cart, riding up the doggone path and go into a cave and you looking at dark red eyes, then tell me there ain't no vampires. Then tell me there ain't no werewolves and all that kind of stuff that's just fantasy. It's fantasy because you don't do nothing but sit on the internet and pontificate about what's real and what's not and what you done read in some books.
So the path of the spiritual warrior takes you off from behind your keyboard. Is that what I'm assuming that you're putting down? If I'm picking up what you're putting down, is that what you're saying? There's not a lot of pontification going on in the past.
You can't do it from the keyboard. You got to get out into the multiverse, and that may just be in your room with the keyboard and the computer turned off. Those are courageous people because you're going into the darkness, you're going into the mystery, and you're going into the mystery alone and in the dark. Doesn't mean you can't, on occasion, do it with groups and with people and all those different type of things. But the real work is where you're alone with yourself because you can fake the funk with everybody. You can be as tough as you want to be. You can tell people this, you can tell people that. But when you take that dose and you're there alone and you're in the dark, you can't fool yourself. You know, these people on, Facebook to tell me all the time, oh, you really didn't take no 30 grams because you can't take 30 grams. I'm like, why not? Why not? You can take 30 grams. You can take 40 grams. You can take 100 grams. You can eat a pound of mushrooms if you want to, and you can keep it down. But you got to face what's going to come from the experience, the warrior experience. Because folks that are taking these doses, and it ain't just me, these folks who are taking these doses and they're going into the multi-dimensional realms, are the courageous folks. And they're housewives, they're elders, they're teenagers, there's people who are work for the postal service and those type of things. These ain't, somebody out bragging about what they do and, I'm in MMA and I'm a kickboxer and all that kind of stuff, whom most, if you give this to them, they, they're the ones be calling in the middle of the night, have left me. They called me 10 times and left 100 messages. Please call. Please help me. I'm like, you got to do this. You got to do this work yourself. I'm not gonna be up all night with you crying on the phone. World champion MMA fighter, tattoos all over your back and all over your neck, with lions and stuff like that. I say, call that lion on your neck to work for you.
My goodness.
That's what the tattoos are for. That's what the tattoos are for. That stuff becomes actualized. That tiger on your neck is supposed to jump off your neck and start eating folks up if they messing with you in the hyperdimensional realms. Other than that, what you got the tiger on there for you? To impress your girlfriend. You got a snake on there. Why ain't it up doing Jackie Chan's snake style? Why ain't it coming off your doggone arm and fighting these monsters that's chasing you through the night? Now that doesn't mean that they're not beautiful places, that they are calm and wonderful places out there, But when you say you're a warrior, that's what you're going to be plunged into because they're going to test you. It's like when I first went to Africa and, you say, what do? I'm a martial artist. Well, what's a martial artist? A warrior, a fighter. Oh, you a warrior, a fighter? What y'all do? We stick fight. Okay, well, we got sticks. We got a bunch of sticks. Let's see. They didn't say, "Oh, that's great. We're gonna look you up on YouTube and see if you're a fighter." They said, "Let's get this stick and let's get over here. You a fighter? Okay, we got some guys over there that's wrestling, and when they're in Africa, they say wrestling. That's just a catch-all for a lot of different things. That kicking, wrist knife fighting with kicks with blades on your ankles, and the powders and poisons and all that kind of stuff. You got to be ready for all this kind of stuff because people take you at your word what you say. It's only the people. It's only people who came and lied because the world didn't know a liar until the colonizers came and started lying to people. People didn't know what a liar was. They knew what your word was, and your word means something. That's what they told them, the indigenous folks who were here. Okay, Sitting Bull and the rest of y'all beat us bad here down at the fort. Y'all beat the Bluecoats. So what we want y'all to do is, since y'all won, we're going to sign a treaty with you. But come on down to the fort. Y'all don't bring no weapons. We ain't going to have no weapons. Y'all come down to the fort, we're going to sign a treaty, and we ain't going to never mess with y'all again, and we ain't going up into the Black Hills. We're going to leave that alone. So we're going to stay down here in this valley. Y'all go up in the Black Hills, y'all sacred land of ancestors. Y'all can do what y'all want. We're going to leave y'all alone. We won't mess with y'all because y'all beat the hell out of us. Now, come on down to the fort. Don't bring no pistols and no knives and no nothing. So they march down there to the fort, walk in the fort. They close the door, and, of course, they bring out the guns and arrest everybody, kill some folks. They escape because they're great warriors, go up into the hills, the Black Hills, come down again, fight the fort people again, fight the cavalry again, beat the hell out of them again. And they say, okay, y'all licked us. We know that y'all are great warriors. We just can't beat you. So this time we're going to really sign the treaty. Y'all come down. Don't bring no weapons now because we're really going to sign the treaty this time. And the folks, of course, leave their weapons, march down to the fort again, and, of course, the same thing happened because nobody was ready for a liar. Nobody cared nothing about no piece of paper. But they said, okay, well, this is the way we're going to do it. They're giving their word. We're going to go down to the fort, not have no weapons. And, of course, they bring out the guns again, arrest people, shoot a bunch of people up. They escape, and they fight them again. And it would happen over and over, not just here. It happened all over the world. Nobody was ready for a liar because people took people at their word. So what did they do? How did they beat, the Apache and the Chiricahuas and the Lakota and all those different folks? Because they couldn't beat them, because they were doing guerrilla warfare. They had just gotten out of the whole British thing. Standing in line, everybody, all 12 of us ride on a horse in a line. You get to the back of them like turkey shooting and shoot one from the back. They don't even know what's happening at the front. So they beat the hell out of them. What did they do? They called in the Buffalo Soldiers because that's who caught Sitting Bull and all the rest of them. We were tricked into, I'm not saying we in the sense of me, I'm saying we black folks were tricked into messing with people we didn't have no business messing with. And when the apologies started rolling out in America, the Buffalo Soldiers had to start apologizing to them people for going out there messing with them people when the government and the white folks were messing with them. Why did they know the Buffalo Soldiers could catch them? Because the Buffalo Soldiers were the one in the Spanish-American War in Cuba that beat Teddy Roosevelt and his cohorts who were, just guys from Boston and Harvard and Yale and all that stuff who wanted to go on an adventure with Teddy Roosevelt, and so they're going to jump in the Spanish-American War. And you hear about the San Juan Hill where Teddy Roosevelt and them went up the hill and won the Spanish-American War and all that kind of stuff, which was a lie because the black troops were already up there. They had come out of the Civil War terrorizing folks in the South. And then after that war was over, so after the Spanish-American War was over, what did they do with them? They didn't know what to do with them because you had a bunch of black folks riding around who wasn't scared to kill white folks, who were fierce fighters. What did they do? They sent them to the Philippines. With General Blackjack Pershing, who was the highest general in the United States under George Washington. George Washington was the highest, and still is the highest general that the United States produced, and there was General Blackjack Pershing. Blackjack Pershing, they called him Blackjack because he was with the black troops. He led the black troops. So they left the Philippines, came back to the United States. Again, you got a bunch of black guys riding around that wasn't scared of white folks. You know, you want to get in a shootout? Okay, let's do this. No different than these young boys running around in confusion, shooting each other and shooting people. Except they wasn't just riding around shooting people. They were soldiers. But they said, okay, we're going to have to do something about these guys who got their own pistols and rifles and don't mind, you know, killing white folks. We got to send them out, keep them together, send them out west to chase Cochise and all the rest of them. Because all that cowboy stuff, all that stuff, that's all the black folks, Nat Love and Pistol Packing Bessie and all the rest of them. That's all black people started all that West stuff, bulldogging, where you grab a doggone bull by the horns and throw it down, rope it, U.S. Marshals, Dead-Eye Dick, and all that kind of stuff. Them was all black people that was doing that kind of stuff. Talking about warriors, ingrained warriors that don't know how to do nothing else. So I don't know how I got into the Spanish-American War and all the way into Dead-Eye Dick and, all that, Nat Love and Pistol Packing Bessie and all that kind of stuff. But that's all part of the history. It's all part of the mystery because if you got a warrior, their style is already built in. They do it the way they do it.
I want to
understand who you are from your higher self. Okay, go ahead. Excuse me.
Understand who you are and take that from your higher self. Right? We've been saying my best self. My higher self is my best self. That's the best I can offer is getting in touch with my higher self. But for those, it's 2000. I say it's 2020. We already passed 2019. But for those who are needing more courage in their business and need to have a warrior aspect in their business, not to give up. We know that in Silicon Valley, they don't even make it no secret that they have an entire culture over there that they are using the hallucinogens to create a dynamic aspect of wealth. Would that be the warrior in us to help expand our business and create dynamic wealth as well, or is it only localized to weapons? And this is tying into when you said, I guess you could say, we weren't gullible, but we weren't used to nobody telling lies. Every time somebody told us something, we took it at their word that they could actually do it, and then all of a sudden, lying was introduced. And now it's jacked up where we say, oh, man, I can't trust this person, or I only believe what you show me. How do I take and pull this warrior out in my everyday life so I can create dynamic wealth too? Because there is an economic play that they're going on to we want to keep you dumb and ignorant, but we also want to keep you in a poverty state?
Well, I mean, when we're talking about warfare, or we're talking about the strategy of warfare, that's applied to business. I mean, people deal with the book The Art of War in business. There's more than one art of war. Prince Machiavelli wrote The Art of War, not just the Yellow Emperor's Chinese Art of War. Von Clausewitz's treatise on war. There are many books that deal with strategy, and you set up your business in a war strategy. When I said some people are merchants and some people are gun collectors, that doesn't mean that that's negative. Some people, that's just what they are. They're merchants. They're needed in society. We need the vegetables and, the different food stuff that merchants have, because warriors ain't farmers. We need the farmers to produce the food so that it can be taken by the merchants, so that it can be passed on to folks who don't grow food, things like that, But we should understand still how to grow food, even though you're not a farmer. I'm not a farmer. I'm a gardener, because you have to know how to grow food, especially for times of lack, and times where maybe the farms aren't being productive or those type of things. It's just a good knowledge base to have as far as that's concerned. Now, people who are talking about, basing that whole survival plan on growing food, in times of conflict, or if society breaks down, martial law is implemented 100%, stuff like that. You got folks. I think I was watching a brother on YouTube when he was talking about survival and things like that. He said, "How many people know how to grow food in the cities? If the food." I'm like, number one, you think that they're gonna let you have your food? You got a garden. You got people that ain't never missed a meal, and they are gangs of feral, Hell's Angels or the zombies or whatever's walking past your garden, and they go, "Oh, that's Mr. Rutherford's garden. We ain't gonna take his tomatoes and squash and all those different type of things. They ain't gonna let you grow no doggone garden in the midst of chaos, because people gonna come out and take the food. They smell some soup coming out the top of your kitchen. You're gonna be dead. You may be put in the pot. So we have to understand that you still have to know these skills, but you have to be realistic also. Now, as far as financially, that's all, again, warfare. You just utilizing the strategies of how you defend your company, how you present your company, how you keep the secrets of your company. It's all based upon warfare. You have to be cognizant of what the new technologies are. I know that folks think that Bitcoin is dead, but no, they just you always slough the suckers off, just like in 1929. All of the big stock market houses and Jamie Dimon and all these people's Bitcoin is not anything. It's not backed by anything. So everybody when the price dropped got scared and sold their Bitcoin, and the price dropped. But you don't know that's what they always do. When you start selling yours, all those big people, all those people at this house, this stock house and that stock house, and all the people that you think that was talking about Bitcoin and ain't backed by nothing, they in the midst of buying frenzy. They're buying it all because Bitcoin is limited in number, and the mathematics prove out Bitcoin is based upon math. Bitcoin is more valuable than gold. The blockchain is how things will work. Litecoin with contracts is how the future is going to be produced here. Bitcoins are not as high as they were, but it came from 2/2000ths of a cent to $3,400 a coin. It went up to $17,000 per coin from something that you had to put together 2,000 of them to make a penny. It went up to 17,000 fiat dollars. Bitcoin is more powerful than gold because it's based upon the math. And the math says that within 5 years, each of those Bitcoins that are $3,000 now will be worth close to $1 million, if not $1 million or more. The math bears it out. It's inevitable as 2 plus 2 equals 4. So, I'm hooking my wings to what people say ain't worth nothing, when in reality it's worth more than gold. Gold was introduced into the society, into the world, into culture, because what they call the Anunnaki were eating it, not because they were spraying it in their atmosphere to make their atmosphere thicker. What they called in ancient Sumeria, Babylon, Akkadian, the Anunnaki were eating it. Orbitally rearranged monatomic powders of gold, just like you had orbitally rearranged monatomic powders of platinum, as you had titanium and rhodium and palladium. Powdered, and were eating it because it comes from the stars. It comes from asteroidal comet impacts. Because if we go back to the Younger Dryas, there has a Younger Dryas impact boundary of which exotic metals were deposited from the impacts. They have what's called impact proxies, which are nanodiamonds, magnetic spherules, mini buckyballs, all of these different types of exotic metals. Those are the same exotic metals that come out of the interior from the Congo and from the mountains of the moon and all down East Africa through the Nile, where the Nile picks up the exotic metals and deposits it during the inundation period in ancient Egypt and Kemet, where the people use that soil to grow their vegetables and eating the exotic metals. These are the same metals that are deposited on the earth. So gold was valuable because they were eating it in its monatomic state. That's what gave them long life. Because what people call the gods, they're not gods, they're just folks out in the universe rolling up on folks with their long lives. If your life is 70 years and you come up on a person who's got high technology and they live in 30 and 40 and 50,000 years, then they look to be gods to you. Because my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather knew Inky. And now here I am. I'm an old man now, and Inky is still hanging around here. And when I die, I pass on the information that the king is Inky, and my great-great-great-great-great-grandson is now old, and Inky is still here. So they look upon these folks as gods, but they're just technologically advanced humanoids whose role is no different than Yahweh, Jehovah, or Jehovah. Let us make man in our likeness and our image. Us means more than one folks. It means a bunch of folks. The elves. They like Jabba the Hutt and them. They transdimensional gangsters who go around and make primitive cultures in the solar system think they're gods and get worship, get the best, you know. What does God need with the right foreleg of a bull to be burnt for so that he can smell it and the meat disappear at night when they close the temple, the meat disappear. Because you got a bunch of little peasants running around with their herds, and every night they got to put the front foreleg of the best bull that they have on the altar. They got to put the first vegetables on the altar. And doggone it, if you got Cain and Abel, and one is a herdsman and one is a doggone farmer, and you bring some vegetables up there, they don't like vegetables. God said, I don't want no doggone vegetables. I want some meat. So I don't like you because you're a farmer. And so they get jealous, fight each other, kill. Cain slew Abel. Then Cain goes off into the land of Nod and finds his wife. So they're the only two people. Why you go off and find your wife? Where? Some folks will say it was his sister. Some folks will say his sister. But if it's his sister, then his sister's there. He ain't got to go off to another land to find his sister because his sister's right there. So what is this? It's all talking about older systems, and it's talking about humanoid and humanoid types who have not only genetic differences, because you have you got the big head people in Peru. You got the big head people in Peru, the ones with the elongated skulls, of which skull deformation is done in honor to in all different parts of the world, because you had these big head people here. They were different. You had people who were taller, whom some call giants, and you know them because they got 6 fingers and 6 toes on each hand and foot. So the hands got 12, and it's depicted in different works throughout the ages. Cave paintings and different friezes on the wall. They depict them with 6 fingers. Why you put a man on there with 6 fingers and everybody got 5? They know how to draw because they're drawing all other kind of stuff, So this is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Knowledge and information has to be passed on to the people so that they can understand what world we're in and what other worlds that have influenced this world. Mars was destroyed. Mars had a civilization, had an atmosphere, and all those different types of things that were destroyed by one of those same shards that hit 12,800 years ago and 9,600 years ago. Mars was destroyed. The crust of it was torn off by asteroidal or comet impacts. And that's what destroyed it. That's why so much dust on Mars is frozen. But you move that dust. And as soon as people can get there, you're going to see that Mars and the Earth have a connection. Zulu from South Africa means star traveler. And the Zulu records say that the Zulu people come from Mars. They didn't say that they revered Mars or the gods came from Mars. They said they come from Mars. And I'm of the school of I believe what the ancestors say. I don't believe what you say because you haven't studied the ancestors, nor have you studied what they were studying.
Facts. I want to open it.
I believe. Okay, go ahead. Open the line so we can get to the questions.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish your thought. But I'm about to open the lines up for questions. So if anybody wants to who has a question, comment, or feedback, just press 1. I already got my 336. You on the line? You coming in next? But I want you to finish your thought about the Zulus first and the Star Children. I don't trust y'all because y'all not studying what the ancestors studied.
Well, it's not just the Zulus. It's the Dogon, of course. We're dealing with Sirius. The Nigeria Fae, of which you get Ile Ife from, which is in honor of the Fae, the real Ile Ife, which is in the Sirius star system, from which those folks came. And when they started their society, they say the Ile Ife. Fae is a planet in the Sirius star system. You can't see it because Sirius A is so bright, and it's in that solar system, not right on those stars, but it's in that solar system. Fae, they all say that they came from the stars, but that doesn't mean they come from the stars because the stars come from the infraparticle realms. And in the infraparticle realms, they generate the stars. So when people say, we're made of stardust. Yes, physically you're made of stardust. You're made of atoms and protons and neutrons and electrons and all that kind of stuff. Yes. So yes, in that sense. But your soul is not from stardust. What you are, your consciousness is not from that. But you're part of the physical matrix of the universe. You're made of all of those different elements in the physical sense, because everything physical is made from those particular basic energies and basic physical things. So, that's basically what I had to say. Yeah.
All right. One quick question. Somebody had texted me. They are in the military. The military does drug testing, and even though the question is, are mushrooms, will they come up on a drug test, or do you know of any military people who are taking mushrooms? Now, I know, don't go all the way into like the super soldier is taking them. I'm probably sure they got all kinds of mixtures.
We get cut off again. Mushrooms don't show up on regular drug tests. Now, I don't know what tests the military do, but they don't show up on regular drug tests. Neither does DMT, because DMT is part of human metabolism. It's already in your body. You can't get it out because DMT is part of metabolism. It is created in the body by the lungs, the liver, and also the pineal gland. And folks will, of course, probably chime in and fight and say that we have no scientific information that the pineal gland produces DMT. No, it just produces in rats and mice and squirrels and cows and ducks and everything else, but not in human beings. Let's be real. If it's in mammals and mammals produce it, then the human beings are mammals too. Mammals, physically great apes, and that's what, that's my observation of this whole thing. So it's already in your body, so no, it can't be detected on regular drug tests.
All right. Caller, thank you so much. Caller from and she replied, she said, I want to go somewhere tropical and trip then. And then I told her, I said, hey, you're going to be somewhere tropical if you take 5 grams. You ain't got to worry. They get you somewhere way more than tropical, in my opinion. As we say here, we say, Bob, on a nice cool Saturday night, just take 5 and just lay it on down in your bedroom, and you're gonna get as tropical as you want.
Right.
Yeah, folks like to bring the nature vibe in, and that's okay for low doses when you want the nature to be synergized. But if you take a sufficient dose, don't worry about nature. Nature takes care of itself. You're not going to be in nature. You're going to be in the multiverse.
Nice.
You just need a safe, comfortable place and darkness. You don't need no music. You don't need no candles. You don't need no chakra cleansing bells and all that kind of stuff. You just need darkness, a comfortable place, and the dose.
Caller from the 336-416. Your microphone is wide open. Can I get your name and where you're calling from, please, tonight?
Greetings. This is Amsu here. Greetings, fellas.
Peace.
Peace. Yeah, it was just what Baba Kilindi was just speaking on in regards to, you said darkness in the dose. That's a good one right there. But I had the opportunity to befriend a person when I was out in the Southwest that was a member of the SEAL team, and he said that they would actually take them to places where like the Twa was or the Hutu to learn some of their fighting styles. And I was just wanted to know, Baba, what is your experience, or do you know anything about what they call the Twa or the Pygmies and what they incorporated, or what type of ethnogens that they use?
Well, number one, they're the first users of the Iboga, but they're some of the different Twa groups, the Abba, some of their groups, their origin stories talk about mushrooms. So they deal with mushrooms and the Iboga and other things that I don't know. I wouldn't know about because you had to be Twa to know about those different things that they have. But in the Congo and surrounding areas, those are the places that weren't directly affected by the Younger Dryas or Clovis impacts, those asteroids, because Central and East Africa were preserved. Every time you see one of these disaster movies, be it 2012 or whatever, they always end up in Africa, because Africa wasn't affected by these things. Because, many places it's just on a plate, and the way the torrential waters came in and things like that didn't affect Central and East Africa. And you know that because at the time of that impact, that last impact, 9,600 years ago, at the time that Atlantis was sunk, that time, and all of the megafauna in the North American and Central American and a lot of South America, the megafauna was killed. These up to 80% of the megafauna in those areas were killed. In Central East Africa, you still have 90% of the megafauna. You still have the different elephants and the giraffes and rhinoceroses, hippopotamuses, and stuff like that, the big animals. Whereas, North America had 4 different types of elephants, 4 different types of elephants, all dead one afternoon. Boom, hit the ice pack, and, deluged and, basically killed them all out in the afternoon, whereas Central East Africa wasn't affected because they had their megafauna, and you had continuous civilization going back thousands and thousands of years. So that's what that's what you can see about dealing with the Twa in their society.
Thank you. Yeah, Yeah, and again, just some of the things that you had discussed earlier, in regards to, these nanoparticles and things that we now are, science is just kind of discovering. But when you speak about the soul and that in itself is information that has to be disseminated, in order for us to actually go into those deeper worlds. Because, I was just thinking, I said, the thoughts, where do these thoughts come from if they aren't possible or if they hadn't happened before? And have those memories.
Well, we have smart dust and femtoparticles, nanoparticles, 1,000 trillion times smaller is the femtoparticle, and we have that in the smart dust, which is the black medicine that is put in the cuts in different places. In Africa, you'll see what they call the scarification, and you'll see the bubbles or knots that are on the body of different families. Their totemic skin scarring. You will see black lines, and in that black line, that's the smart dust. That's the dust that is connected, the quantum entanglement with particles from different solar systems that connect family members to one another over space and through time. So that black powder that you see, the acons, like the black medicine, the exponentiated black medicine of the Akan. They have black powder so fine that they take it and put it on your hand, in like a little cone, a little heel, and they tap the side of your hand, and the medicine goes in through your skin pores into your bloodstream for the family connection. And what they do is they take a small part of the original medicine that they brought from the Sirius star system with them when they came through the galaxy. They brought that black powder with them. And how they keep it going and exponentiating is that you have the core ingredients from the sacred forest, and what happens is that you make all of this, you burn it down to charcoal, and you put some of the original medicine in it, which synergizes the whole of the new batch. And you can take from that batch and put it in the next batch, and that batch and put it in the next batch, and keep the medicine going. But they always have some of the original medicine, the magic powder that was depicted in Remember the Time with Michael Jackson, when he was before Iman and Eddie Murphy, when all the magicians came out and did their magic stuff. Michael Jackson came out in the gold and white, gold into white powder, where it becomes an orbitally rearranged monatomic element, and is eaten for immortality. When he was to do his magic, he brought out the black powder and threw it on the floor, disappeared, and then came back out and danced and sung his Michael Jackson song and all that kind of stuff. That was depicting with the royal bloodlines, the white monatomic gold and the black femto smart dust particles in front of the Mesut Biti, in front of the Pharaoh, which is the line of those folks who are depicted in the ancients to be in this day, and also from the ancient bloodline, which was Iman. So we have the smart dust. We have the femto dust. Look up femto and femto technology, FEMTO. Nano is the old stuff. Nano is what's in your phone. Femto is where the magic happens. See, people that don't know keep talking about energy, like the guy, what's his name, Suzuki, or the Japanese astrophysicist, what's his name? That's the dude, Suzuki, the other guy.
I know
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
The TV physicist,
His
right?
name,
Hawaii.
TV physicist.
It begins with an H, I think. Yeah.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'll think of it in a second.
Yeah.
But they talk about the utilization of energy. Energy is abundant everywhere. If you have the right understanding of how to produce it into a technology, energy is limitless. They talk about a stage 3 civilization is utilizes all of the energy of its sun, and the stage 4 civilization utilizes energy from all over the galaxy. No, that's not it. That's thinking in the same old way. What is that if you understand a particle of which you could put a quintillion of them on a speck of dust, has enough energy to run the universe. We're not talking about putting things together where we can build, impossible two burgers from vegetables. No, we're talking about from the virtual realms, true energy and magic, where, like the doggone Jetsons, you want dinner, you say, replicator. I want this and that. I want green beans. I want mashed potatoes. I want a steak and, some Jell-O and, some, I want a ginger beer.
The works.
Make it so. And out of nothing, built out of nothing, it appears perfect temperature, even built to plate from the virtual realms, the knife and fork and spoon, all that stuff is built from nothing. That's what we're talking about. We ain't talking about, utilizing the energy of suns. No. We're talking about, and we're closer to it than your top layer of skin is to the second layer of skin is in your body. To where you say, let it be, thus is so, and it comes from nothing, from nowhere. True magic. But it's based upon science. It's based upon numbers. Or where you say, satiate, that I be full forever and enjoy the taste of all food that exists all the time, so that I don't have to eat nothing. I'm never hungry. I'm always full. It always tasted good and never passed my palate. Talking about be in Alpha Centauri on the planet 6 from the left sun, and so on, so on, so on. You there before you can even think of it. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the little nonsense that they're talking about. If it can't be, if it doesn't violate the laws of physics. The laws of physics. Those only local laws. That ain't laws for every. That ain't laws for every place. Places that have different laws of physics on different worlds that are exactly the same as this one. See, we can't limit ourselves to the thoughts of people who ain't gonna take enough mushrooms to understand even the smallest inkling of what we truly are. The gods don't measure up to what you are. You can't even think of what you are. You have to be what you are. And to get glimpses of that, you have to start delving deeper and deeper and deeper into that darkness, because it's all there. You know, folks will tell me, you know, light is greater than darkness. How? Light come out of darkness. Darkness is light's mom and daddy. I'm a light bearer. I'm the children of light. Well, I'm a darkness bearer. I'm a children of the darkness, the triple thick darkness. Darkness so dark you can't even perceive it as darkness. It's bright. That's how you can see in it. That's why I'm always talking about below the Planck length, below the Planck length, below the Planck length. Because light don't exist down there because it's orders of magnitude above the Planck length. So there's a lot of no light, no heat, no cold. But you do not freeze. Because there's no moisture. You can't freeze dryness, but you can freeze moisture. Got another caller?
Yes, but you got some people over here scratching their head, including myself. I'm gonna just go ahead and say that. But I'm still lining up with you, because that's like what I was telling. Like, everybody knows I'm big in astrology, but one day they just showed me, whoever they is, it was just like, yo, it doesn't matter what system you saying, whether you with the Vedic system or whether you with the 13 sign system or whatever, astrology don't work outside of this localized solar system and galaxy that we in. Like, because we haven't mapped anything else outside of that. So stop getting, like so puffed up. Because I know some astrologers, they'll bet their life on it. I bet my life on it too, but not when it comes to outside of this particular galaxy. And now, since we're talking about traveling the multiverse, I'm certainly not going to go out there and be so pompous as to say this is the end-all, be-all, And so you've been talking about that the whole time, about how we got to get past this particular reality. So, yeah, I got to get another caller on the line. We got, if you are listening on the computer, please call in 917-889-3803. If you hang up in the next 30 or 45 seconds, you will not be able to get back on. So do not hang up. Just stay on. And if you have a comment, question, or feedback, please press the number 1. Caller from the 513-720. Your microphone is wide open. Can I get your name and where you're calling from, please? Hello, caller from the 513.
Yep.
720. Your mic is wide open. Hello. Okay, going once, going twice. All right, we gave you a chance. Sometimes people come on and, it does tell them if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, press 1, and maybe they hit it accidentally, and that's okay. We can move on. Anybody else wants to get in, just press the number 1. We're going to continue on with this particular conversation about, we're going to do a small recap, because tonight you have given us a lot. And even if I start at the back and go back to the front, we're all of this is under the umbrella of having this conversation of the journey of the spiritual warrior. And a lot of things I've heard many people, I'm not going to say many, but I've heard more than enough people who I've been talking to in private conversations about mushrooms say, "Oh man, I don't really like not being in control." And to me, control and knowing things is about the physics of your own dimensional space that we say we have control over. And, Baba, can you talk about, I was asking you about relationships a couple of weeks ago when you said, man, you're just fighting the algorithm, that has been implemented. But I feel that there are several algorithms or glitches in the matrix that are trying to keep us from pushing the limits and giving up what we call control. Can you speak on that? Are we really in control of anything, or is anything on this side of a 5, 7, or 9 dosage worth trying to maintain control of?
Well, inside of our travel through the multiverse and the particle realms, we don't disacknowledge the physical realm. It's still there. We still have to work with it. We still have to deal with its physical laws while we're here, because it's a place to learn many different things. Now, some of the areas of different types of knowledge that we acknowledge in the physical sense are not part and parcel of the hyperdimensional knowledges. Much of what we deal with as moralisms and things like that are applicable in the physical sense are not applicable in the multiverse. It is here that folks try to preserve their power and rulership over the spirits, over the souls, while they can in this dimension. But they're running programs. They're running what? The consumer program. They're running the entertainment program. They're running the politics program. They're running the feminist program. All these are different programs so that you can get responses. So that you can get measured responses. We know if we push this button, it's going to make this response. So if you're making and feeling the average response of what you're doing, then you're running the program. Most people are working on the junior high school program. You may have a car, you may have a mortgage, you may have children, but you're still 14 years old. You're still running the same programs that you ran when you were 14 years old. You're just a 45-year-old, 14-year-old. And these programs run automatically. We know if we say this is going to get this response. They're not going to think about it. They're not going to have any concise dialogue on it. They're just going to run the program. They're just going to run the program. So these programs out here, they're embedded in the matrix. They're embedded in our society. I saw it run on it's a site on Facebook or whatever, that it shows the Latino female program where this buxom, big behind woman in high heels would walk to a couple, and they're like sitting on a park bench or in a restaurant, or they're in a shoe store or something like that, and she would go up and she'd have on a miniskirt. She'd bend over and show her thong and look back at the guy. And to a woman, that woman slapped her boyfriend or husband or pushed him, then ran after the woman, and the woman runs away. Every one of them did the same thing, and the guy, the woman bent over in front of him, and he looked. If it had been a truck driver, and he was next to him, and the truck driver pulled out a wrench, he would have looked, because that's it's a conditioned response to something coming in front of you. You look at it, because that's a fight or flight mechanism that is millions and millions and millions of years old. Now, of course, after he looked at the woman bending over the dog, he had a smile because that's the sexual response, that maybe, whatever. But the thing is, to a woman, she did the same exact response. Not one of them broke the program, not one of them broke the program because it was an algorithm, it was a program that they were running. And that's in all different things, Folks here, it's 11 degrees below zero. They're more concerned with dogs in the backyard than they are with people on the street. Detroit, I don't know if it still has, but Detroit had more amputees than any place else in the world of homeless people being on the street in freezing temperatures, getting frostbite in their feet and having their feet cut off because people didn't care enough to try to get the people off the street. Now you have a little Salvation Army, a little this, a little that, and as long as they get their donations of money, they're doing what they need to do to try to get these people off the streets. And now, of course, it's a Christmas time program running. We must get people off the street because 11 degrees below zero. But they're more concerned with the dogs than they are with the people, with the running programs.
Wow. I got a brother, that 513, he just texted me. I'm going to try to open his mic back up, see if he get back on. He had a question for you. Chris Enlighten, can you hear me now? I'll just open your mic back up.
Greetings. Can y'all hear me now?
Got you loud and clear, brother.
Greetings.
Oh, man. Greetings. I've been a fan for years. I'm just, man, I don't get nervous, but certain people I talk to, I just really get excited, man. I've always been impressed with your vast reservoir of knowledge and all that good stuff, man. You just, the way you create a bridge between intellect and your warrior code, I love that. That's me. I embody that as well. But one thing I've got a question with you is, I've given up liquor, marijuana, any recreational drugs years ago to expand my consciousness, and I've seen a benefit from it. And I was just wondering if there's any way for me to achieve those hyperdimensional states where they're fighting and all those other fighting styles you were talking about earlier. Is there any way to achieve those states naturally? Anything like any teas I can drink or anything like that I could, maybe at least
mushrooms.
Those places?
Mushrooms are natural. Okay. They're just fungi. Okay. You can make a tea out. Matter of fact, you can make a tea out of mushrooms. So I answered your question real quick.
Okay.
See, the thing is that when you talk about hallucinogens, psychedelics, entheogens, they are natural.
Okay.
At least the ones I'm talking about. You got some that you need baking soda and some hydrochloric acid and all that kind of stuff. But no, mushrooms are our oldest entheogen. When we were walking the Sahara when it was green, leaving the canopy rainforest because they were receding, following the herds, hunters and gatherers, men basically dealing with the hunting, women dealing with the gathering. But of course that crossed over, because if you're walking down the doggone road and you see a sack of potatoes, you're going to pick up the sack of potatoes. You ain't going to say, I'm a man, I don't gather nothing, I just eat meat, I just hunt. No, it wasn't. That type of nonsense didn't come until much later. No, when we were hunting, and it wasn't really hunting, it was like you kill a piece of meat between when the lion kills the antelope and the hyenas come in and eat after the lions, then the wild dogs come in. And between the wild dogs and the vultures and the other scavengers, you send Freddie or Sam to run and grab a piece of meat. Other than that, you're killing bugs with rocks and, smaller animals and stuff like that. So following the great herds, these mushrooms were coprophilic. In other words, they were dung-loving mushrooms. So on the cow pies, on the giraffe pies, on the hippopotamus pies, on the elephant pies, but they basically liked the cows growing those plants were the mushrooms, and we tried them, and we found that mushrooms at low dose are for hunting because it delivers what's called visual acuity. In other words, it makes you see better, see farther. The lines sharpen, the colors become more vivid, so you can see farther. So that's an adaptive advantage for a hunting and gathering group because you can see the animals further. You can see the flower that sits on top of the potato plant. The potato plant, they got the potatoes under the ground. You can see that at a further distance. And they found that at medium doses, it is a true aphrodisiac. Aphrodisiac, not like what most people call aphrodisiacs, which just creates genital itching, which means if it's itching, I just might as well use it. No. Medium dose mushrooms create what's called central nervous system arousal, CNS arousal, which in the male is erection and antiness, they can't go to sleep. So it is, an adaptive advantage because it creates more successful copulations. More successful copulations means more children, which means that more children will reach the age of majority and be able to pass the genes on to the next level of children. That's why I don't, go for the celibacy, ejaculation, not, ejaculating, all that kind of stuff, because that's hardwired into the nervous system that once you stop dealing with the prime directive, which is procreation, regardless of what society says, when you stop having ejaculations, that tells your nervous system to say that this person is no longer having children, they're no longer viable as an entity because the prime directive for human beings on Earth is to pass the genes on to the next generation. When you stop when you stop, your nervous system is going to say, okay, this person is finished. He's ready to die because he's not useful anymore to the prime directive of why human beings are on Earth. So all that celibacy and I'm saving my seed. No, you had men who had 600 wives and he was having sex with 600 wives, 3 and 4 a day for 70 and 80 years every day. So if he was losing semen and that takes away your power and all that kind of stuff, no, it makes you more manly. It delivers more testosterone to the system because you have to rise up to the capacity of the women that you have. And I know the program is running that, a man having more women. I know that program is running now. But that has nothing to do with the prime directive of human beings. Moving on to the next level of ingestion with mushrooms is that at higher doses, it delivers a mystery. It delivers the mystery, a mystery that is just as much a mystery as in 2019 as it was 30,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago. It's still a mystery, and it's probably they were better equipped with that mystery than we are today because we have all these beliefs inside of what we're doing. So mushrooms are natural. It's just as much natural as ginger. It's just as much natural as them mushrooms you get, shiitake and lion's mane and all that is just as natural as lavender and the rest. It grows in nature. It's part of the earth. It's part of our foodstuffs, which we utilize, that nourishes not only our body, but also nourishes our mind and spirit.
Well, I accept and I appreciate that answer, and I appreciate your time. Appreciate you both.
I appreciate you. Have a good evening.
Oh, man, he had it rolling right there. Thanks for calling in, brother. I'm going to leave your microphone open. You might come up with something else right there because that's why I like the forum type of conversation we have, and I'm glad these type of people call in because, Baba, that's what I had told you at the beginning when you first started coming on show one. Like, my audience, we looking for real information. We looking for real wisdom and real, and expanding our knowledge past that. And I ain't heard of nobody talking about what you just said that really struck my common sense chord. you said that the prime directive is to multiply. You know what I'm saying? And self-preservation is about multiplying. And then now here come people, because I ain't going to say the Chinese, I'm going to just say people are coming in saying, well, if you ejaculate too much, it's going to mess up your prostate gland and blah, blah, blah. But like you said, people will pontificate something just so they can win an argument. That's, to me, that's really the problem over here in the West anyway, is the keyboard kung fu artists and all that. And then now I got to go back and check Montauk Chia because they act like he's the poster child for you shouldn't have no ejaculations. Or they asked Mike Tyson, did you ever they asked Mike Tyson on the Joe Rogan show, did you ever not ejaculate? Were you practicing not having sex before a fight? And Mike was like, hell no. Mike said, I was getting me some so it wouldn't be on my mind when I was having the fight. So, I mean, I'm going to just ask you straight up, Barbara. You can either answer the opinion or you can say what you know. I mean, on that particular situation with seminal retention, is Montauk a glitch in the matrix, or is he full of shit, or people just misquoting what he's saying? Like, what's the deal? Because you done touched on something right here. We got this because hold on, because these sisters is out here spreading it to the brothers. The conscious, what I want to call it, the shea butter queens is saying, hey brothers, y'all ain't supposed to be ejaculating. Y'all supposed to be injaculating. And some of the gardeners or some of the merchants is out here saying, yes, we brothers must hold our semen, and this is the only way. And this is the whole.
If you got a hose, clench it and see what it does. That jack your prostate up. Your prostate is made to squeeze the ejaculation out. It ain't meant to get backed up or not used, because if you're not using it, what does the muscle do when it's not used? It atrophies. You lose it. You know. And if it was made to go left to right, and some is going left to right, and you back it up, going right to left, it's going to clog up. It's just basic hydraulics. You know, you don't see do you see the lions not, sitting back and trying to breathe their way through an ejaculation and not have it? No. The leopards, the chimpanzees, the elephants, the giraffes, others. That's natural for you to do that. You're talking about priesthoods, monasteries up on top of mountains with people who, what the heck? There wasn't no women up there. They have a whole masturbation science coming out of them temples and stuff like that. That's all the secrets. That's all the secret stuff. You do all that other stuff while you are an apprentice, while you are a neophyte. They tell you, okay, don't ejaculate for 10 years and all that kind of stuff. Then they let you in the next room and they're all in there jacking off.
I have another question too, good brother. I'm a big fan of the collective consciousness, and I've used the consciousness of other people to help fuel me win and do great things. But as I'm maturing, I'm just 43 now, still a young man, but as I'm maturing, I'm realizing that when I'm alone, I feel as if I'm stronger. I've never been a big clique type dude or anything like that, but I noticed that when I'm in a house, in my lab alone, I get more downloads. How do you feel about just being like a spiritual Ronin, just doing your own thing and just stand to yourself to get stronger? Is that something you do, or did you just go out and just link up with a bunch of other people to amass all the information you've amassed?
Oh, well, no. I mean, I've had teachers and people who have shared knowledge and information with me. But as I said, with the mushroom excursion, with the mushroom journey, the real work is done alone. And when you understand it, you're alone anyway. You're alone in the dark. All of the things that are necessary and pertinent in your sojourn through the multiverse are done alone. They ain't done in a group. I mean, you can have liaisons and connective links with people, but it's all done alone. This is a solitary journey alone and unguarded. There ain't no backup, no hand to grab, nobody to put their arm around you. You know, you ain't the little lamb of God that he's going to cover you in his Holy Spirit and all that kind of nonsense. No, you out here alone, and you got to stand and face everything that exists by yourself.
Now, when you're on these psychedelic journeys or ventures, can you be harmed in that conscious state that will affect you physically?
Yeah. If you're stupid enough to eat a bunch of mushrooms and sit on the roof and you slip off and fall, you're going to be harmed physically. But as far as, no, you're going to, while you're in the excursion, if you're in the bed and you can only fall to the floor and not hit yourself on the coffee table or something like that, no, you're not going to harm yourself physically.
Okay. Another part of that question, is there a way for me to, like, coordinate with other people around the country that I trust, that we all take our mushrooms at the same time and have a focal point that we can potentially meet up? Is that possible?
That's called the Transdimensional Village. If you look at the book published by Entheogenesis Australia, of the speakers and people who were associated with the psychedelic conference that they had in Australia, you'll find my article called The Interdimensional Village, of where people at different points in time coordinate themselves to ingest mushrooms at the same time around the world and meet up in hyperspace in the Interdimensional Village, of which we've been working on for 3 years to get people ready to get in the village. So not only is that possible, that's one of our pet projects that we're working on for people to be able to go into those spaces. We also have the transdimensional crystals that have maps that you utilize during the entheogenic excursion to be able to traverse yourself without a lot of trouble to the interdimensional village. The maps come out as in, if you saw Prometheus, when David was in with the alien, well, he was sitting in the chair, and all the different worlds and different star systems and stuff like that came up. That's how the crystal opens up and delivers the map of where you're trying to make it to, which is the interdimensional village. So yes, that's not only possible, but that's one of our projects.
I want to jump in on this one.
Sorry, brother.
Hold on, Chris. I want to jump in with an astrology one right there, because it's just, Baba, when y'all are practicing this, and this is if you can answer it, I don't know what you want to, reveal about that now, but are y'all just saying we just going to meet on Wednesday because everybody's free on Wednesday, or is there like an astrologer there or some type of, we're going to look at some of these particular placements? Because when you look at a lot of these movies, they say, on the fourth moon of such and such, this is a sign, like where this portal is opening. So are you using like some type of astrology piece? Like me, when I see eclipses, I'm not going in on an eclipse. I'm not inviting people to go in on an eclipse. But if I see a certain configuration in the sky that's fruitful, like, the moon in Cancer is full of energy, it's a full moon, I'm saying, we can get that boost from the moon then. Are y'all doing it like that, or are y'all just picking random times to say meet on Wednesday, Thursday?
We're not doing a astrology piece because it's not pertinent to a whole different dimension that does not have those artificial constructs in it. There's no moon in where we're going, and the place is a construct of which the interdimensional village is a construct of which we constructed and left the maps to. It ain't got nothing to do with Saturn. It ain't got nothing to do with Capricorn. It ain't got nothing to do whether there's an eclipse or whether there's a favorable time. I mean, people, that's all for your personal rituals if that's something you want to do. You know, you have people who go on the new moon, the full moon. You know, you have people that may go on eclipses and all that kind of stuff, or women on their period. All that kind of stuff is your personal thing. But this is not part of that because there's not the same solar system construct that we have here to relate those things to. You stepping into a whole different realm of reality where those places aren't there.
Whoa. But that makes perfect sense to me because multiverse is the eclipse is only happening around here in this local area. I'm not staying local. I'm getting ready to go hyperdimensional. So that makes 1,000% sense to me. I'm getting that.
Yeah.
Chris, go ahead with your next one, and I'm gonna let Rashid in. He just raised his hand.
Great. My other question was, I know that you were mentioning the different doses and where they take you to, depending on like a medium dose, a maximum dose, or however high dose you take. Does your consciousness depict where you go? Like, if my level of awareness is stronger than the next man, if I take a medium dose, will I go farther, or is it the same for everyone, or is someone like tracking, like, okay, if you take this amount, this specific amount, you're going to go here. If you take this specific amount, you're going to go here. If so, I would love to have that. So when I do decide to do this, I'll know exactly where I'm going.
Well, it's all different because everybody's physiology is different. You know, everybody's access to serotonin receptor sites, which the psilocybin docks into, is different. So you just have to keep going up as far as a high dose to get where you had a point of access. Now, it's general because you can't say, well, it's 17 grams because Kilindi went to here. You know, if I take 17 grams, I'm going to go here. It may take you 20 or it may only take you 12. But we get you in the ballpark because this is an art form. It's not, you have to practice because it's a discipline also.
Okay.
You know, you have to be able to hold the position of where you are, you're trying to get to, you know, because adventure abounds in the entheogenic world. You know, you can start out, you know, you may have had an argument with your grandmother, you know, not an argument, but just a disagreement, you know. Your grandmother may have said, boy, you need Jesus. And you say, Grandma, you know, I've done study. I'm a man now. I'm 46 years old, and I don't really believe that there is a Jesus. And Grandma just goes out, oh Lord, and stuff like that. You shouldn't have said it to her because, and then it ain't gonna make no difference in her life. She's going to see Jesus, but you said that you don't really believe in that. So your grandmother and you had a disagreement, and 2 weeks later you hadn't, you know, apologized or smoothed it over, and like that, your grandmother passes. Now, you're going to utilize mushrooms to access your grandmother's consciousness out in the multiverse, you know, because you didn't get a chance to straighten that out. So you have to keep your discipline and all that meditative stuff that people be talking about. I'm meditating and holding my consciousness and breathing to become one point in this. That's all an after fact of the entheogens, and it's utilized inside of that type of work. So you keep your focus on your grandmother. You don't put your focus on what's happening over here, this star being born, or this galactic battle going on between the Klingons and the Federation and all that kind of stuff. You're like, dog, I want to see Captain Kirk and then fight the Klingons, you know. But no, you went in to speak to your grandmother. So you keep the discipline and your eye on the prize of speaking to your grandmother so you can take care of this business. So that's what this is about, being disciplined, practicing, accessing where you need to do. But everybody is different. So, you know, where I can do it at 15, it may take you 16 because there's no set number for your consciousness. You have to explore into the multiverse to be able to get your dose where you want to, your dose to get you.
Thank you.
Chris, stay on the line. I'm gonna leave your mic open. I gotta bring Rashid in. 404-989. Your mic is wide open. Thanks for joining the show tonight. Where you calling in from?
Peace, blessings, everyone. I'm calling in from Atlanta, Georgia. Peace, Baba Kilindi. Thank you. Greetings, and I appreciate and thank you for your work and coming on the show and sharing with us in this forum. It's amazing and very heavy. And thank you, Coach Khayr, for having the platform. The question that I had, or the concern, what I was thinking was that one of my teachers once before told me that the spiritual tools choose you. You don't choose the tool. And I'm hearing and listening to you guys and sounding as if the entheogens or the mushrooms are a spiritual tool for expansion, for consciousness expansion. And one practice that I'm familiar with, or that's common in the circles that I frequent, is using spiritual tools in the dream state by putting them under your pillow while you sleep at night. And I heard you talking about growing the entheogen under the bed. And I was wondering about the frequencies and the energy given off of the entheogen just in general. Would one be able to absorb the frequency or the benefits in that way as if it were a crystal of sorts without ingesting it, maybe for people who are fasting or breatharians or people who are in a job or work or education or something like that? Thank you.
Well, you ain't gonna get you can get the frequency. You're not gonna get a entheogenic journey from having it under your bed. As far as folks work with these things, you have to eat it. I mean, everybody wants to get away and do it without taking the dose. And that's the way we always did it. If you remember the book Contact, or if you saw the movie with Jodie Foster, when she went in the machine, the big mushroom machine, and went to the other dimension, he said, "We don't know who built it, but this is the way we've always done it. Tiny little moves, small moves." That's what he said. This is the way we've always done it. This is why it's here, for us to eat it. It's not for spontaneous, full entheogenic trips. You can't survive in the physical with full entheogenic trips. You can't be riding down the street and a doggone wormhole open up in a different dimension, but you in a physical car in a physical body, and that wormhole opens up in the middle of the road, and you make a left to go through the wormhole and run into somebody's Pontiac. It was made so, okay, I want to take the entheogen, I'm going to get in a safe place because I have a body. I'm going to get in a comfortable place so that I'll be comfortable. So I'm not fighting the cupboards, and I'm not fighting the door or somebody disturbing me and stuff like that. I'm not fighting, listening to the dramatics and all that kind of stuff. You choose to take this. It is a tool. It is a tool for consciousness expansion or consciousness access to expansion, and it is a tool to explore the multiverse, and you utilize that tool as a tool. You don't walk around with a drill in your hand all the time, because that I'm spiritual and natural, No, when you're ready to drill, you go get the drill. When you're ready to saw, you go get the saw. When you're ready to travel the multiverse, you go get your entheogen and take it, and you know how long it's going to be. It's going to be 6 to 8 hours. If I take it at 10 o'clock on Saturday night, then it'll be, by the time 8 o'clock come, I'll be able to drive. I'll be able to go pick up the children, all that kind of stuff. No, you can't get away from eating it unless you get away from eating, And I know a lot of spiritual people, but I don't know no breatharians, I know people that fast. I've done 48 every year fast 40 days. for 48 years.
Mm.
So I know fasted. I broke fast on 40 grams of mushroom. Broke a 40-day fast on 40 grams of mushroom.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. What was the name of that place that you went to? Yeah, Heavyweight. Right. Where were you at?
Yeah. Well, we ain't, that one ain't for publication.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. One thing. Well, yes, all good questions, which lead up to this next one about. I want to just take it back around to. You talked to Chris about discipline. You talked to Rashid about tools, and before that, you were talking about intentions of I want to go and talk to my grandmother and resolve some issues with my ancestors. So is that this possibility of whatever my intention is, I'm able to go into that area if I have discipline? And for me, that goes back to the martial component of practicing this reality, using martial arts to help develop our discipline, using meditation and breath control to develop our discipline, so that particular habit will go with us when we start taking these hyperdimensional travels. And is it the same thing if you don't have any intentions, like if you are rushing to get to the place? You say, well, at 8 o'clock I'm going to start my journey and drink my tea or eat my mushrooms, but it's 7:50 and I got to pay this credit card bill before 8 o'clock. I got to pay this bill. Aren't you carrying that same trauma or stress of debt into the trip as well? Is it really? How important is it to space that out to really be in chill mode of intention setting when you get ready for the journey?
Well, you want to try to get all that out of the way before you, to give you a little bit of time to reflect and relax and stuff like that. You don't want to be paying that, but I didn't pay the gas bill just before I ate mushrooms, because we still living in the world,
Right. But not engaging in any.
Even though I'm talking about the multiverse and all this stuff, I'm just regular, They call me Master Kilindi and all that kind of stuff, but I never put anything on anything that I've done and call myself Master anything. A lot of people, they start believing their own press, We all here together. We all groping in the dark, trying to find out what this is about. For one man to try to put another man on a pedestal, that's not what I do or we do. Even my teachers, they share with me from their experience. They weren't better than me, or I wasn't subservient to them. They were men like me, and it's the same with everybody. We all standing down here on the ground, trying to work our way through the great mystery. Where do we come from? If we have been, not from the beginning of time, but we have always been, where do we come from? What are we? Because we don't even know what we are. And we doggone sure don't know where we're going. All you know is that you got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and face everything as a sovereign being in the multiverse, not bending knee to anyone, and anyone that you acknowledge as someone who is a guide or something like that. When you honor them, you're only honoring the best within yourself also. So we're together. Wow. We're brothers in the mystery. We're brothers in the mystery. So all these folks who, want to honor the divine right of kings and all that kind of stuff that I have over you, that's all that Anunnaki, Jehovah, Yahweh, pimp stuff. They come in there, you come in there, everybody bow on me and divert your gaze from the power that I am. No. Nope, not having it. Hey,
I got another question.
Do we have anybody else online?
Nobody else is ready.
Go ahead with your question. Okay, well, go ahead with your question, and then I have to roll because I got to work on my hand. I messed it up earlier in the week, so I'll take your question.
All right, I'll be real quick. One thing I like to know the front end and the back end on whatever I'm doing. So what are some of the beneficial side effects, or not even side effects, but enhancements that someone can expect to have consciously after taking shrooms, after they come back to this reality where they found themselves just over time just being more, just knowing things, being more intuitive, really having some more gifts, those are one of the last questions that I have.
All of those things. You answered your question yourself. Yes, more gifts, more connected to the energy, more sensitive to things. Just like I said, first person in martial art. And I said not a martial art, but it can be any vocation. You could be a blacksmith. You could be, a person that cuts the hedges. All those things are going to get better, and you're going to be more in tune with it because you're going to start expanding your knowledge base from just the physical areas that you have now, and even the stories of people talking about the angel came and visited me and taught me how to do this and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is part of it. All that's part of it. So yes. So
I appreciate you.
Hey, yeah. So thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it. The honor of being on the show and sharing with people something a little different than the regular thing that we hear, but it's all parts and pieces of the puzzle. You came back out of reality and paying the gas bill. You still have to, deal with your children and spouse and all that kind of stuff. You still can be a king in the street and, John Doormat at home and stuff like that, But, even Zeus, Hera gave him a hard time all the time. So thanks a lot for having me be on the show, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Bob. Bob, we appreciate it. Peace. We're gonna stay on the line. We're gonna let Bob. We're gonna stay on the line and keep the conversation rolling a little bit. A little after party. After the teacher done left, we're gonna let him go take care of what he got to take care of. Baba will be having something in Detroit on May 17th. I did catch that calendar. Next week we try to get him to make an announcement on that. And we all want to send Baba some. Yeah. But you can wait till next week on that right there. You don't have to mention it now. I just dropped that because that's my birthday. So I want to say thank you for having my birthday party in Detroit this year, Baba, on May 17th. I mean, I couldn't have done it. You are a really good guy. You're a really good guy for how all that is, what do you call that? Coincidentally, just you got Jerry and the Toad coming on my birthday to your city. Woo, I don't know how you pulled that one off, but it don't matter. You did a good thing. So right. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Baba. Peace.
Peace to y'all.
Peace. So, yeah, I'm there. I'm there, Khayr. May, I'm there. I'm there.
Hey, how can you just wait? Wait a minute. Ho.
I'm there.
Well, wait, brother.
You know how I do.
That might be too far. You know what I'm saying? Divine Queen may not want to come all the way on my birthday to Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Or you might not, or you might be.
Hey, don't matter. I'm there. It don't matter. She go where I go.
Hey, good. We're going to do a round table. Whoever else want to get on this round table, y'all can listen in to us, or you can press 1 and get in. The teacher done left the room, but hey, I can't go nowhere right now. We got 14 more minutes that Blog Talk is giving us, and I got to have some of this on the record. His son. First off, I got to start with you first. I need some. Because we're going to have a private conversation. I'm going to tell y'all now, me, Rashid, Chris, and his son going to be on the phone after this is over. But right now we're going to have some public documentary that we can share with the public. What you got to say about tonight's episode? Because I can't call it part 4 no more. It's just episode number 4.
Man, I mean, this was beyond epic. And if you've listened to anything that Baba Kilindi has said on YouTube, Vimeo, wherever, he don't go in like how he went in tonight all the time. This was a special night, especially from about I don't know what happened when we hit about 9 o'clock, but it got rough. About 9, man, I'm going to have to go back with a pen and a pad because when he got to talk about that black sand and the Akan and the particle entanglement with the tattoos, I almost lost consciousness.
Yeah, right. Oh, I was keeping the time sheet, and that was I can tell you exactly what that is. If you want to fast forward, you can go to
9:48, 9:40.
I'm talking about at the 59-minute mark, he went to the transdimensional weapons on Earth are already here, and the teaching is available. And then he said the men need to go to the planet of war and study, but they only going to give you what is yours. You can't go up there and be like, oh, I see my man Chris come back with that Thor's hammer. Can I get one of those? And they may be like, nah, you getting this razor blade. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you need. Or he came back with a razor blade, and you real skinny, but you can yield a hammer. And the first thing I thought about when he was talking about that was when they tell us the story of, not Dr. Strange, but King Arthur. You know what I'm saying? King Arthur had Sheed, put your phone on mute until you come back on because you got the feedback. When you get ready to come in, just unmute your phone. But I'm going to leave it open on my end.
All right, I got you.
Right. So I thought about King Arthur because King Arthur's sword, you know what I'm saying, he was rolling with Merlin, and he got a magical sword that only one person can get out of there. Who was watching over the sword when King Arthur was there? You know what I'm saying? These hyperdimensional beings was like, you can try, but you can't have that sword. That's only for the person we've been G-checking his whole life. You know what I'm saying? Which goes back to when I listen to Jay-Z. Jay-Z said, you are who you are when you came here. So if Baba said he got some stuff now that's in his possession, then guess what? He got it because his discipline showed that he deserved it. You feel what I'm saying? He didn't just come in and was like, oh, y'all know me, I'm from so and so, holla at me, let me cop that. And then he was it was at 1 hour. At 1:01, the first hour and 1 minute, he said, visit your mandala. And then at 1 hour and 10 minutes was when he went into the tattoos. And then it was a wrap after that right there. Yeah. Right there was when he went into the tattoos. And he was like, what you crying? Like he was talking about the UFC fighter. He's like, why you calling me crying, calling my phone 10 times, can you make it stop? What you mean make it stop? I thought you was big and tough and had all the tattoos. Make the tattoo come off your arm and help you.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, that's what LL Cool J had said about his mic on his arm. He said, if it ever leave my arm and transform it to a time bomb. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Hey, Khayr, next show, ask him about his sword and the stone experience since you brought that up in Africa, because it's like an actual thing in Africa that's like that, where they waiting for the chosen one to come and pull like the sword or the axe, something like that about this stone. And he actually went over there and tried to do that. That's a real thing. Remember that next week. Yeah.
There you go. If we can get to it. You see, when we start rolling, you got to try to get your questions in where you can get them in at. The other piece, man, that piece where he talked about where the liars were introduced, like that was huge right there.
Yeah, that was heavy.
Like we was taking everybody's word for who they were at face value, and then Joker started lying, and we had to adjust like all of our consciousness, and so that was real crazy. And then that femto technology.
I wrote that down. Yeah, FEM. Yeah, I wrote that down. I'm all over that for next week. Going in. Also, next week's topic is going, and I'm gonna send y'all the video on YouTube about what he talks about. It's an old video he did, I don't know, 9-10 years ago, where he was talking about you have to step into the mystery.
See, I'm diabolical with this. I'm just easing up the ladder for people who continue to listen in order of the shows. So if this was your first show, if you want to keep up with next week, you better go back to the first 3 shows we did. So next week you'll understand like where I'm driving this, and then we're gonna do the sex, tantra, and relationship show on February 13th, right before Valentine's Day. Now, me personally, having studied with Sunyata Saraswati, who's in the ancestral realm, it just be so crazy how they're on the same grid, because Sunyata, Sunyata never was a proponent of never bust a nut. Sunyata was like, if you always practicing these Naguns and these high-level energy arts and you don't bust a nut, he said you're going to blow your top and go crazy. That is a quote. That is a quote. He was like, you better, he was like, it depends on what you're working on. You know what I'm saying? If you're working on certain things, like probably those kings who had 300 or 400 wives, they might not have been busting every time they had sex. You know what I'm saying? But I'm for certain that they wasn't going years and years and years telling the cells of their body, we're going to go against the prime directive. Any of you fellas want to comment on that? Amsel, you on the line? Who want to jump in on that?
That's our most magical state as human, as sentient beings on this planet. Right when you feel that feeling, whatever you think about at that time, I use that and make it happen. Whatever I want, when I'm at that climax point, I think of that and I know it will be, and it's been like that ever since I heard Master mention that. Dr. Mitchell Gibson, how you want to bring it up from your root all the way to the top. I haven't mastered that yet. I haven't been able to hold on to it that long. But instead of getting that aspect, whatever I want, right when I'm getting that good feeling, I think of it right there, and I try to hold that feeling, and it happens for me. That's just my jewel.
From what I get from Montauk is he advocates cycling the energy. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily not ejaculating, because even in his warm up exercises, like there's a week or two, or there's a few weeks of warm up exercise before you start the program or whatever, and he's like ejaculate at least once a week. You know what I mean? In the regiment or what have you. But the idea of rotating that energy, up the spinal column and around the microcosmic orbit. You know what I mean? That's what I hear from, or that's what I like to take from Montauk. And as far as the actual ejaculation, it comes to mind certain occult sexual rituals and practices where the ejaculatory energy is risen to an extreme height for that magic, you know what I'm saying, for that holding that whatever that group is working on, whoever's in that circle of energy, they I've come across information of study or reports of rituals in that regard.
Amsel, come on and jump in, please. What you got for us tonight?
That's a vast, huge subject in regards to that, because as the brother said, now, Manchok, they had, he emphasizes the time or the amount according to age and everything of that nature. However, just based on anatomy, physiology, like you said, the urge is there. It's just that, this is a discussion that we got to definitely delve into, because it brings up a lot of different thoughts, a lot of different ideas and schools that are associated with it. And then when we see the issues that prostate issues that are in our basically amongst black folk in general, that's something we definitely need to talk about and start to get more and more information on it, because again, this is another lid that was blown off tonight, because you can go online and everybody talking about it. Hold the seed, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And here I come talking about I got some new, and that's where we gotta be at, is our ability to take in new information. I was talking about that early day. What's your teachability index? When you got somebody in here bringing you new information, and you've been, going with certain information. Well, I mean, my people, all of y'all, that's why I feel like I'm cheating, because this is my clan that's on the phone right now. All of us are visionaries, exploratories. We understand the rules about humility, and, the man who knows nothing is the one who knows, and the one who think he know it all, he don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just really proud that the family came through this evening and was all, my whole crew, all my thumpers is here right here. Like, these my ladies, if y'all listening, if y'all don't really know these people that's on here, these are the cats I let put at the back door. If we got if you ladies up there talking, and you put these crew of fellas on the door, you ain't, excuse my profanity, but you got to worry about shit running up in there. Like, these what y'all want, these intelligent hyenas. You know what I'm saying? And we dress up and we look good too. We dress up, we be looking all clean and stuff, but man, you don't want it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm super proud to have these cats who called in tonight, you know what I'm saying, to rock with us. I got two more people I got to open their mic real quick before we get off. 916-241, your mic is wide open. Can I get your name and where you're calling from, please?
Greetings, peace, gentlemen. This is Rochelle, and I'm just tickled. I'm gonna put my phone back on and just be a fly on the wall. This is beautiful conversation going on right here.
Did you take some stuff coming tonight?
I didn't get to take notes, but any question I thought to ask, you guys answered the questions for me. So thank you. But yeah, I wasn't in a position. I just got the children getting ready for bed, so I've been doing all this with my headphones on, hoping my phone didn't drop the call.
Okay.
But everything, when he broke down to how big and small the matters of dimensional science and all that is, I just threw my hands up, because I don't have time to argue with people about what they know or what they